Do you remember pashaBiceps?
Still you are my friend. You are not my friend. You are my brother, my friend.
You may know him as that Polish guy who went from Warsaw to Poland on his bike. It seems like it was only yesterday that Pasha was winning big trophies and had tens of thousands of people on his streams, but now many people don't even know his name. We're here to fix that. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe because you're watching CYBERSHOKE, and this is the story of pashaBiceps, one of Counter-Strike's brightest personas. Jarosław pashaBiceps Jampkowski was born in the Polish town Naszelsk. It was hard for him to realize his esports dreams living in a small town of only 7,000 people, but everything changed when the first internet cafe in town opened up. Our 13-year-old hero started to go there a lot. Although pashaBiceps has a big passion for video games, he sticks to a healthy lifestyle, does a lot of sports, and keeps track of his diet. Pasha has said many times, if you're constantly sitting at home and eating fast food, you won't become a pro player. His nickname is a combination of two words, Pasha and biceps. And while biceps doesn't need any explanation, just look at him, it's plain to see that Pasha is an interesting character. In childhood, Jarosław oftentimes went to a village to work on a farm. And actually, Pasha in Polish means feed for livestock, for example, for pigs or cows. Therefore, pashaBiceps. Pasha found his first team way back in 2004, but he played on the amateur level and rarely appeared in official tournaments until 2009. Jarosław met his wife Kinga in that very internet cafe in Naszelsk, and after a few years, the young couple went to Warsaw in search of a better life. They suffered some big financial problems, and Pasha even had to drop out and become a construction worker. But that wasn't the job pashaBiceps had been dreaming of all his life. His ambition was to build a career in esports. So then, he made the biggest bet of his life and went all in to become a pro player. Jarosław's family understood his decision. Kinga continued to work as a travel agent and believed in her husband, while Pasha's father helped him with money, even though he was sure that his son's dreams were just some pie-in-the-sky fantasy. Pasha's life became one big routine. In the day, he worked for $70 a month, and at night, he trained with his team, Pentagram. Jarosław didn't have the energy or time for any social life, so he lost contact with many old friends during that time. Sadly, Pentagram wasn't the strongest roster, even on the local scene, and Pasha knew that his only chance to make it big was to land a better team. Back then, there was only one Polish team that was consistently playing at big Tier 1 tournaments. Again, they were called the Golden Five, and every Polish player dreamed of playing for them. Jarosław got lucky. In December 2009, again invited him to stand in for Taz on a big LAN in the Chinese city Hangzhou. pashaBiceps showed some good CS and helped again to reach the semi-finals, where they put up a good fight with future champions Fnatic and earned themselves $5,000. Right after Hangzhou, it turned out that Luke wouldn't be able to attend the IEM Season 4 LAN finals in February, and again didn't take long to decide on inviting Pasha. Sadly, they got eliminated in the group stage, but Jarosław played well and got offered a permanent spot on the team. Now he was one step closer to fulfilling his dream of an esports career. Before joining Virtus Pro, the Poles changed several organizations, but didn't get along with any of them. It was strange. You're the Golden Five, one of the strongest teams in the world with a huge fan base. Do you think it would be hard for them to find a good sponsor? As it turned out, yes, it was. Everything got even worse after the transition to CSGO. As Pasha himself remembers, Counter-Strike became a completely different game, and some of the players just couldn't adapt to the new mechanics. For a whole year, they failed at one tournament after another, and as a team that stayed together for so long, they realized that changes were inevitable. So, after saying goodbye to Lourd and Kuban, our hero started to doubt his ability to make a living by playing CSGO. Yes, Pasha's dream job had always been esports, but he also wanted to have a family and be able to provide for them. Back then, even with such unimpressive results, pashaBiceps still earned enough to cover his and his wife's life in Warsaw. But what would happen in a few years when they would have kids? This question made Jarosław very anxious. The risk was not only whether Pasha could reach top level, but in the game of Counter-Strike itself. What's the point of being the best at a game that hardly anyone is playing? Pasha's two remaining teammates, Taz and Neo, came to his aid. These two were true Counter-Strike veterans who competed at a pro level from the very beginning of the game. Counter-Strike was changing right before their eyes, and they, unlike young pashaBiceps, were sure that the popularity of Counter-Strike was here to stay. Taz and Neo talked Pasha into staying on the team, and the Poles signed Snacks and Bialy and began training. Their results improved right away. It turned out that their old roster was lacking just one thing: firepower, and the new players covered that perfectly. The Poles qualified to the first ever CSGO Major and took first place on the 8th season of Star Series, beating Na'Vi in the final game. After such a big win, the guys finally found a new home for themselves. At that moment, Virtus.pro couldn't find a good CIS roster for half a year and decided to risk it and sign the Poles. Well, they wouldn't regret it. Later, Pasha would say that VP was the first org in his career that both treated him well and didn't try to scam him. The other players also liked VP a lot, so later they rejected other offers with higher salaries. Pasha said that he trusted VP, and he wasn't ready to trade away this trust for any sum of money. And so, after just 2 months in signing their contracts, Virtus.pro went to the Major. EMS 1 2014 was held in Katowice. Winning a world championship in their homeland was a big dream for all the guys on the team. They easily passed through the qualifiers, took first place in the group stage, and annihilated LDLC in the quarterfinals. In the semifinal game, they faced LGB, a Swedish powerhouse with all individually skilled players. But with the big support from Polish fans to back them up, the Bears won. You really couldn't think of a better opponent for the grand final other than the legends themselves, ninjas in pajamas. At that moment, the Swedes and Poles had already played a handful of games against each other, and both were very strong teams. But it looked like the Polish magic did its work, and Virtus.pro became the world champions.
And it'll be Fifth Laren and Exist to come charging in, and Snacks to go mowing them down. One more will do it for Virtus.pro. It's all on Forest. He gets the first. He doesn't get the second. Virtus.pro have won. Taz has delivered in front of the home crowd. And MBK, your thoughts on that win?
That was just a masterclass from Virtus.pro. Look at that. They are extremely happy. NIP, they are even happier knowing that they totally outplayed NIP. That was an immense game. And look at that. The whole crowd is a whole standing ovation from everyone. And Virtus.pro, they're just too happy.
After that big win, Yaroslav's whole family realized that what he was doing wasn't child's play, but actually a serious sport. Pasha's father-in-law, a strict military man, even became his biggest fan. You could easily call 2014 the best year in Pasha's career. HLTV even put him in 3rd place in their yearly rating. During that time, he got asked how he manages to be in such good shape while being one of the best Counter-Strike players in the world. And Pasha said, "A true man has time for everything." Along with an overall high skill, Virtus.pro also had a huge fan base. You could say that the Polish audience loved them as much as Ukrainians love Na'Vi. At that time, Pasha's streams were getting tens of thousands of viewers. His top donator was an oil businessman from the Emirates who sent Pasha a whopping $30,000. Being so popular, Pasha even tried to add his own sticker to CSGO in 2015, but to no avail. Back then, Katowice hosted a major again, and its organizers were cheering for VP because they garner so many viewers. But if we were to sum up Virtus.pro's results in one word, it would probably be unstable. Seriously, that Polish Virtus.pro roster was one of the most unpredictable teams in Counter-Strike history. Firstly, they, like Gambit, could show some terrible CS in online games, and then crush everyone on LANs. And secondly, even on big tournaments, Virtus.pro had very unstable results. Here's an example. The Poles made it to the playoffs at 2 consecutive majors, both times losing to the future champions. In between those majors, they took first place on the big LAN in Kyiv. Such good results pushed the Bears to the 2nd position in HLTV rating. Only Brazil's were higher than them. But you know what? That didn't stop VP from finishing a Star Ladder tournament in last place, winning 15 rounds in total against top 12 and top 29 teams. Typical Virtus.pro. Barely winning against the top 200 mix, and then beating Na'Vi in the final of that tournament was definitely their specialty. But why were they so unstable? Most likely it was because VP had both very strong and very weak sides. In a way, they were a team of contrasts. Let us explain. It seemed like some players lost their grip after competing for so long. They still trained a lot and cared deeply about their performance, but the fire in their eyes wasn't burning as bright as before. Naturally, this affected their stats. In 2016, Pasha, Neo, and Taz's ratings all dropped below 1.0. Moreover, there was a lot of role switching in the team. Taz and Neo, for example, often replaced each other for the position of captain. On the other hand, there was a ton of experience in VP. They didn't make any changes in the team for 4 years, and every player had around 1,000 HLTV maps behind them. Also, their former teammate and current coach, Kubin, was one of the brightest minds in CSGO. Just think about this. Zonic, Blade, and Robin didn't even start their coaching careers, while VP had Kubin, who had won a lot of tournaments back in 1.6. So if the guys were in good shape, they could beat any team thanks to their experience, but they could also lose to some super weak opponent the very next day. Unfortunately, later on, VP's results got really bad. In just a year, they fell from a stable top 10 to the tier 2 level. Taz left, which started a whole chain of roster moves. At the end of Virtus Pro, Pasha sincerely tried to come back to his previous level. He perfectly understood that his new teammates were basically rookies, and in order to achieve success with them, he would have to work a lot. In one interview, Pasha said that previously he didn't spend as much time on training as he does now, but despite all their effort, the results got worse every month. And so, in March 2018, Pasha announced that he was going to end his professional career after the Katowice Major because he didn't want to drag his team down. But VP didn't even get on the minor. They got eliminated from the major cycle, failing to pass a qualifier stage. Then, in February 2019, Jarosław officially left Virtus Pro. Failing to return to the top level with Polish teams Ago and Youngsters, Pasha understood that it's time and made the fateful decision to end his pro player career. The next chapter in his life came when he signed a contract with Team Liquid. He spent 2 years in the US org. During that time, Pasha took part in forming the Academy roster, streamed a lot, and worked on lots of other projects outside Team Liquid. He released a clothing line, played in the Academy for a bit, starred in an advertising company, opened a summer camp, and even became an MMA fighter. Actually, not that long ago, Pasha said that he wanted to open his own organization, and then hopped on a bike and rode to Paris. In just a week, he had traveled more than 1,500 kilometers. And although it's been a long time since Pasha's last appearance on the server, his popularity hadn't dropped a bit. For instance, when Liquid registered him as an emergency substitute player for the Stockholm Major, the community exploded with delight. Fans were so excited to hear that, despite knowing that the probability of Pasha actually playing was slim to none. pashaBiceps isn't just a Counter-Strike legend. He is the player whose photo you can send to any person to prove that esports is not just made up of fat and lazy slobs. And for that, we thank you, Pasha. Thank you for watching, guys. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and bye for now.
4 versus 1. We'll see if we can do anything with this. Down connected, there's the first kill. Something to build upon, but not believing just yet against the double offset. Alright, now we've got a chance.
Has the sight to work with. Lucas, just barely goes under the crosshair. Watch it when he looks away. What a shot! What a shot from Pasha. 6 HP. He's planted so open, Henny's gonna have no idea. Smoke goes onto it. He's not peeking it yet. Pasha needs patience, and he's spotted. He knows he's not open.